after this 4th of July Independence holiday.
That's right. It was a good one, too. How was yours, Alice?
Mine was very nice, wonderful, great. I hope you all had a good one and got to spend it with your families and friends, and it was safe and all that. But we have to talk about locally here in Las Cruces. We had a parade. It wasn't on the 4th of July. It was on the 3rd of July.
3rd of July
right?
light parade, yep.
Yeah, and I know I wasn't able to participate or make it there, but you were, and you have an interesting report to tell us all about, Mr. Zeke.
Yeah, and I'll just be real candid about a little thing about politics with me, guys. It's like, I've been doing it for some years now, and I can't even tell you how long I've been feeling like this. There's so many events that I'm just like, I don't want to go. I'm going to think of any way to get out of it. This is stupid. It's going to suck. It's boring. It's just, I don't want to do it. But I force myself to go, and every time I do that, it's like 20 times better than I ever imagined, and it was so important and so powerful. So knowing that I know that about myself, if I ever feel that, then I'm like, okay, I have to go.
You push yourself.
Yeah, I really push
Good
myself.
For you. Good for you.
So I didn't necessarily get that too bad with the light parade, but I kind of did because it's a lot of people. It's a lot of work. Putting up the float is difficult. So thanks to FRW for helping with the float. They did a lot of help and a lot of work. They showed up. They came on the float, and we got there, and there was just tons of people, tons of floats, tons of cars. The float came out really nice, and we've got a ton of support. We got more support than I've ever experienced doing the float. I think this is my third year now doing it, and we had whole sections of crowds. They would read our sign and they would cheer, and it was a really good feeling. Got a couple of people who were giving me thumbs down. One lady was flipping me off.
Well, if you only got one middle finger, that's
One
pretty
middle
darn
finger.
good.
Well, she had two of them, but
She gave you the double whammy.
she gave me the double whammer. But I got her though, because she was right next to a bunch of one of our crowd sections. It was weird. There was always one. It was almost like they kind of knew. They knew when we had a whole crowd cheering for us. They kind of got pissed off, so they wanted to do something to show that they weren't with us. And it was seriously just a handful of people. But the first one that did it, it kind of made me mad because they were like literally the whole section of the crowd was cheering, and then this person was like being a negative Nancy, being rude and disrespectful. So I was like, you know what? Trump won. Trump won. He won by a lot. He's gonna win again. Trump 2028. And I just said that to just.
So you did that from the float?
Yeah, from the float. I was yelling.
This is how good his voice broadcasts. He just did it from the float, and everybody could hear it.
They all heard it. Yeah, and I wasn't yelling like mad or either angrily, but I was just like projecting my voice so she could hear it. But I didn't even realize everyone else could hear it too. And everybody was laughing and clapping, and there was a lot of Trump hats. There was just so much love.
I'm so impressed. People actually wore their MAGA hats and stuff.
Well, they were kind of incognito Trump hats, but they were Trump hats nonetheless.
But you knew they were Trump hats.
Well, no, they were Trump. They were like the black ones,
Okay.
and had the gold letter. There were a couple black ones with gold lettering. They were like the incognito. There was only one person with the main MAGA hat on. They were on our float, and she's awesome. She's an FRW member, so shout out to her. But no, it was a great event. You guys wouldn't believe how much support we got out there. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me that we have a full Democrat city council, a full Democrat county commission. Their float sucked.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of that.
I'll put in a picture. I'll edit a picture. It's worth it for me.
2 people on it.
3.
Excuse us. There's 3 people. And how many do we have on our float?
11.
Yeah.
We had 11. And very active people as well. Very active. We were all up there, waving our hands and just thanking everybody, wishing everybody happy 4th of July. And everybody was pointing at us and clapping and cheering. And, we got a ton of support, 90% support plus for sure.
I love it. It's reminiscent to me of when we did the Trump waving signs.
Right.
The sign waving signs before the election. The support is there. And this is, we don't have a lot of parades anymore in Las Cruces that I know of. This is the only one that I kind of know of that happens. But I have to think there's mostly families out there that are watching the parade, right? Kids.
It was so many kids. There was kids everywhere. And we did a little something special for the kids too. I won't say too much about it, but they were very, very happy with what we did for them. Just to me that made the night when the kids are super happy and they're gonna have a memory forever, and their parents are smiling and they're happy and they're clapping. I was like, man, this is good. This is good. I wish they had got that on camera, but who cares? The point is it was a good moment. It was a good time for Las Cruces. I saw a bunch of my friends that I grew up with. I mean, every corner somebody I grew up with was, hey Zeke, and that was really cool. Like literally people I grew up with since 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade. It's just, hey, this town's great, and it could be so much better. I feel like they could really capitalize on this light parade. They can do a lot more with it if they're really, focused on it.
That's great. I think I've been to one when I was still living in Arizona, and we happened to be here 4th of July, and I used to go by University, if I'm not mistaken.
The light parade?
Yeah, I think so. Are there any other parades that are big deal here?
No. I remember. Now that I can think, I remember the whole enchilada fiesta. If you guys remember that, that was an awesome parade. That was during the day. We used to ride in that in BMX. They would let the BMX guys.
Cool.
Yeah, and we'd ride our bikes backwards the whole time. It was fun. It was great for the kids. Why don't we do stuff like that anymore?
Well, yeah. Why don't we? Right.
God, it was so good for the community. So good for business too.
Absolutely.
You know,
So there were a lot of participants. It's a pretty good parade.
It was the most participants I've ever seen. I mean, it was almost too much. It was a never-ending barrage of floats. And we were behind the loudest freaking float, and it was actually a really good float. They put a lot of money into it. It was some plumbing company. I think it was like Hernandez or Gutierrez Plumbing or something, but.
But that's okay. They were introducing you. No.
Yeah, huge float, and it had a DJ service too. So it was big, massive LED lights, and it was just so loud. I was dancing the whole time, but it was a little obnoxious.
A lot of loud Mexican music.
Yeah, I was dancing. It was like bachata and stuff. I was dancing, and all the
Were you doing the Trump dance when you're there?
I kind of was. That's mostly because I don't know how to dance. So you kind of fall into that movement when you don't know what you're doing, I guess.
Well, that's really good news, and I'm very delighted. And the more that I talk to people, they get it. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill and what that entails and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you went. And again, shout out to my women's club. I know you're an associate member as well. It's a Doñana County Federated Republican Women. Tricia Quillen is our president. Did she get to ride there?
Huh?
Trisha, was she there?
No, she showed up. She got some snacks and stuff. She hooked everybody up, but she's got a lot of stuff going on with the family and stuff, so she couldn't ride on the float with us. But we were like, you know what? She was with us in prayer and in spirit. I love Trisha so much. It was just really cool. That to me, my highlight. Well, there's a couple highlights. Number one was the Democrat float was hilarious. It was just funny. I don't try to kick anybody while they're down because that's not the kind of guy that I am. But pick it up, guys. Pick it up, Democrat float. You know what I mean? Does
that show like? We really don't care because they think they got us. Is that what do you think?
No,
they got money. They could have done something.
It looked like they knew everybody hates them. That's what it looks like. They looked miserable. It looked like they were getting paid to be out there. They didn't want to be out there, and everything that we did was all volunteer. It's all volunteer. We put hours in.
Did you recognize the people that were on the float? Did they have any banners of candidates or anything?
Yeah, they had one little yard plastic sign of Gabe Vasquez. I recognized Bill McCamley. He was
Gabe
there.
Wasn't there?
No, he wasn't there.
Well, of course he was. Probably busy with the bill.
I would have been there if I was him. That's a great place to be. There's so many people there. But just pick it up, Democrat Party. Come on now. You're going to have to join Elon's New America Party.
Well, I think, let's see. At that, it was still the third, so he probably was still in D.C. and had to vote. So
is that what it was?
We can give him that. We can give him that. It's okay, but at least they had a banner. But there were all other politicians, local ones, or the governor. Governor didn't come out either?
No, governor didn't come out. Nobody came out.
She could have come out.
I think it's silly. I think it's a great time for a high-level political official to come out, have a little stage, say a little something, maybe cut a ribbon or two. They used to cut ribbons on these kinds of parades.
Really?
Yeah, they used to give people keys to the city and cut ribbons and stuff for like a new business or somebody did something significant. They'd give them a key to the city. These are really important times.
So how about any of our local politicians? Were the city council
Nobody
members
was there.
The mayor wasn't there.
If they were lurking in the back somewhere.
Well, the police, I'm sure, had a float.
Oh yeah, the police were all over the place. Yeah, and they were getting cheers from everybody. I was cheering for them. I was thanking them for their service. They were in really good spirits.
Well, it's just making me think if the city council didn't at least have one somebody to represent them there, or a float or something. Not even. That's kind of interesting to me.
Not really, not to me. I mean, the polls are out. They know people hate them. People don't like Democrat politicians at all, and they can't hide from that anymore. Especially now because they got all these budget cuts with the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
So yeah, nobody likes you guys, Democrats. Nobody likes you, and I can see it at the light parade. You guys had an abysmal float. You had no political representation there whatsoever. Nobody likes you. Go away.
Nobody likes you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a great report. I'm so glad that you went. Thank you very much for participating, putting that in. And Fred Huff, we have to give him a.
Oh yeah, Fred
salute
Huff, Daniel Black, the FRW, Trudy. Everybody did such a great job. Jim Huff, all those guys were just. It was such a cool night. Jeremy Armstrong came out too later and supported us, first vice chair of the Republican Party. So we had a good night. I think for me it was funny. People just could not handle when I said Trump's going to win again, Trump 2028. That really flipped people out. and not in the normal triggering way that you would think, that where they would kind of hiss and get green skin all of a sudden or whatever. They just shut down. Like, it completely deflated their balloon. Like, they didn't have the wherewithal to even comprehend that statement, whether you're not or believe it or not. I mean, it's almost impossible for him to do it, but is it really impossible? It's not really. It's actually he's got a lot of ways to win again, actually. But I was just saying that to piss him off, and it worked. It was even worse than making him mad. It was like it completely demoralized them.
You were triggering them, weren't you?
I don't think they didn't have a trigger for it. They couldn't they couldn't find a trigger.
Wow.
They didn't know how to respond. It was very interesting. They didn't know how to respond to that. It completely shut them down. And I was being facetious, I wasn't being mean or nasty about it. I was just being like, yeah, Trump 2028 is going to win again. And man, it was hilarious. That to me was the highlight of my night.
Oh, that's great. Well, salute again. I think
Thank
that's
you.
wonderful. That's great. Before we move on to New Mexico and national, any other thing local that we have to report on?
No, I can't think of anything. I mean, they got some protesters up the street right here on Loman. The No
What did
Kings.
they protest? Oh,
No Kings.
today?
Yeah, right now. You didn't
is
see them
that
in the
right?
corner right there?
No, but I came the other way. That's why.
Oh, you came the back way?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're right there on the little gas station, kind of by before you get to Texas Roadhouse. That gas station that's right there on
Oh,
Walton.
okay. I'll go back that way.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, and it's all old white people. And I love white people. I love them. But that particular demographic seems to be the only ones protesting for the Democrat Party right now. But we live in Las Cruces, where it's like 60% Hispanic. So who the hell are they
Plus,
representing?
we have a New Mexico State University. We got a lot of young people too.
And yeah, that's true. We got a lot of young people too. And the people that were wearing the Trump hats, that were big time Trump supporters over the weekend at the light parade, a lot of them were Hispanic. A lot of them were Mexican looking. Like all of them were. So I don't understand. It's something again, white people. I'm just wondering why that little small segment of demographic is representing the entirety of the Democrat Party. I think it's weird.
Do you think maybe some were paid? That they're out there. Did they look like it, or just?
I hope they're getting paid. It's hot as hell out there right
Yeah,
now.
it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll still be there after the show.
Man, God bless them if they are, because
Yeah.
they better be getting $30 an hour or something like that.
We're recording the show. It's a Saturday right after 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to check that out. Did you recognize anybody like
No,
the
I never
repeat
recognized
people?
any of them. I never recognized
See,
any
that's
of them.
interesting because you've been here long enough. It's
That is
just
interesting.
Someone you know.
I recognize the people on the Democrat float, one or two of the people. I saw a few people that I recognized, and they don't like me, so whatever. I don't like them either.
And there were only like 3 people, you said, on the
3 people.
Man, I'll have to
Man.
check that out when I
Yeah,
leave here.
yeah. So it was good. It was a good time. I can't wait for next year. I mean, next year, guys, I really want to get a float for all conservative organizations, the Republican Party, CCA should have float, RFW should have float. We should all have our own individual floats and just inundate the community and gubernatorial candidates or other candidates, because it's an election year next year.
It's going to be huge.
We should have just like
Huge.
10 different conservative floats. We should have a motorcade. I think that would help a lot.
And there weren't any candidates, or is it too early, or is there any rules about that? Like,
No,
if
there's
you're
no.
running?
I mean, there was no. I mean, there was. No, there was no candidates.
Yeah. I know Christina Moore, who is going to run for the Las Cruces Public Schools School Board,
Yeah.
and she couldn't make it to that one. But, that'd be nice. Just get a little car, get whatever, a truck, and get out there.
Oh, I mean, I got
Make
out
your
there.
plans
I
now.
was out there. I mean, I might as well have been running for something, because I mean, everybody saw me. Everybody said hi. Everybody's waving at me. They saw me from the crowd and stuff. I mean, it's amazing PR for a politician. I mean, it's name, face recognition to the max. I mean, you want to build trust? Get your ass out there in the freaking parade, man. Risk getting shot like JFK for your community. You think about it. You think about it, but it's not possible. I mean,
No, it's good. Back in Arizona when I ran for office, I think I told you, Zeke, already. So we had our mechanic, he used to restore cars. And he had I wish I could remember the exact model, but it was one with a rumble seat. So right before, we used to have a kind of a Thanksgiving parade. So it was right before the election. So Mark got to drive this thing, right? And I got to ride in it, and then we had our signs on the side. It was very cool. And this was down in the South Mountain area, South Phoenix. I don't even know if they have the parade anymore. But, that really helps. It really does help. And then after my first
that's
term.
when you won, right?
I won.
Yeah.
I
See,
did win.
it helps.
I did win. I will brag. I got 48% in a 5-way race. It was 5 people running.
Damn,
it was
5 people
nonpartisan.
running?
Nonpartisan.
Woo!
Yeah, and our team was
That
wonderful.
sounds brutal.
They worked hard, which I was just lots of great support.
I'd hate to
So
be in a
many people.
5-way race. That sounds brutal.
So many people, and there were two of them were attorneys, and I think 2 of them were doctors.
Damn.
I was I was the underdog, really.
It's all about building trust, people. And Alice is a very trustworthy person. She emanates solidity. She's solid. Her and her husband are solid. And you're out there in the parade. You had a great
was cool.
team. You know, that's how you build trust right there. People can take notes like that if you want to, run a good campaign. It's all about building trust. You can forget about all the crazy stuff because all of it is social media. Is you're building trust. Okay, the top of everything, the media, the marketing, and the billboards, and the signs, and the campaign walking, and all that is trust.
It is.
So
It really is. They have to like you.
Yeah.
And then after I did one term and I didn't want to do it again. I couldn't do it again. So my buddy ran. I recruited a friend, and he says, "Yeah." And he was in the parade too. He got like a little convertible, and then he
cool.
sat. It's like an old-fashioned kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's so many those little old-fashioned ideas. They resonate with people.
name face recognition. See, I can psychologically break down exactly why this stuff is so effective. It's like, yeah, name face. People need to know your name. They need to know your freaking face. And and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. I heard a lot of people scream my name and look at my face, and they pointed at me. They wanted me to acknowledge them, and so that's name face recognition.
They know you. I was doing a prayer warrior deal in front of the Pink House just Friday. I think I told you.
Yeah.
And I ran into somebody who knew you. They're like, she kept looking at me and
Oh
looking
yeah,
at
Emily.
me.
Yeah, Emily.
And she said, "I know you. Oh, yeah, you do the podcast with Zeke. I love you guys."
Yeah, Emily's awesome. She's
And that was pretty good. I didn't have any makeup on at all. So thank you.
She's been a
Emily.
huge supporter for a long time. She's a big time patriot. Her and her husband, big time patriots. Long time Republicans too.
Awesome. No,
And
she's a great
so,
person.
Yeah.
It was
no,
wonderful
yeah.
to
Shout
meet
out
her.
to you, Em.
Wonderful to meet her. Okay, so do you want to go? You want to hit the big
Big
beautiful,
beautiful
bill
Bill. Yeah, let's
first?
jump into that, and then we'll end
Let's
on
do it.
local. Let's end on local. There's a lot of local stuff we can go over too.
This is, yesterday the president didn't use an auto pen. He actually signed the big beautiful bill, and I have a rundown. The rundown's kind of long, and I kind of read the points to you before the show. Do you want me to hit any of those? What do you think?
Yeah, hit them up. Like you do that, I'm gonna go check on the
Okay,
thing real quickly.
that's great. What happened was, a good friend of mine, Cindy Love, she's so wonderful. She sent me a nice rundown. My buddy, she's from Arizona. So it's the largest tax cut in history for middle and working class Americans. And according to the Joint Committee on Taxation, it's going to benefit workers and families making less than $50,000 a year, bigger paychecks of $10,000 plus or more in annual take-home pay for families. No tax on tips, okay? No tax on overtime. And for the boomers like me, no tax on Social Security, which I never could imagine.
I can't believe that either.
Why did they even have tax on
I
Social
can't
Security?
believe that. How did that even
CPA I
happen?
was talking to said Clinton. Remember, it was when Clinton happened. And it reminded me.
Good old Slick Willie, huh?
You gotta know. So a $12.5 billion modernization of our air traffic control system, which is needed.
That's a ton of money.
It is a ton of money. It's needed. Permanently increasing the child tax credit for more than 40 million families. Permanently securing our borders by finishing the border wall and hiring thousands of new ICE officers and Border Patrol agents. Driving down energy costs with a massive expansion of domestic oil and gas production capacity, a tax deduction on made in America auto loan interest on new cars. I think that's a huge thing. Protection for 2 million family farms from punitive double taxation. Now, just a little side note here. I saw, because for the farmers and stuff, I believe President Trump is thinking about doing something like, what I heard was he was saying, well, you may have been working here on a farm for 15, 20 years, and as far as the deportation, it's something to watch, I think that it's going to benefit our country. So when it happens to benefit our country, we may have to work something out with that. Creating Trump investment accounts for every American newborn, that's where they're going to do $1,000, right? For the newborn. Restoring fiscal sanity by cutting this is big, this is huge, cutting $1.5 trillion in spending. Okay, so right now we're $37 trillion is our national debt. Now that's not going to be overnight, because that's a lot of money. I think our debt, just the interest we pay on the debt is close to $1 trillion. We have, that's a big mess. Talk about an existential threat, whatever.
Nah, we
that
can
is.
sue the hell out of China for releasing that stupid bug, and then there's so much oil in Anwar, and in Greenland.
Yeah.
There's trillions of dollars in resources. All we gotta do is get to work, America. That's all it is.
And have access to it. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
And this one's a big one for me too. Strengthening Medicaid by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, and blocking illegal immigrants from receiving Medicaid.
Thank God.
That's
I want to
huge.
comment on that really quick too, because
Go right ahead.
I know someone personally that's hardworking American person here. They work for a local business. They've got family. They got kids. They've been married they've been married 13 years. Just last month, they celebrated 13 years of marriage. It's a very impressive American-style family. The kids play soccer, play baseball. She baked goods and stuff like that. Just total Americana stuff.
Love it.
She can't get her tooth pulled because she doesn't qualify for Medicaid because her husband just makes a little too much, and with her working as well, her joint income, she's just over the cap to get Medicaid. And I know all these illegals are getting Medicaid, whatever they want, whatever medical treatment, whatever they want. And this American woman who has a family, who works super hard, this chick works super freaking hard, can't get her tooth pulled.
She works outside the home as well?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
she works, her husband works.
Yep.
So essentially, they're paying for any illegals that are getting Medicaid.
That's right.
Yet she can't, like,
Nope.
give me my money, what I gave you to
Yeah.
pay for you. Let me
Just a little
get my
bit.
tooth out.
Just a little bit. And also that's
huge.
That's big, yeah.
That is really, really huge. Funding the Golden Dome missile defense systems to confront 21st century threats, and modernizing our military to ensure that it has the resources to be a ready, lethal fighting force after 4 years of Biden-era weakness. I thought that was a pretty good rundown of the big, beautiful bill. And I just, coming in today, I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going to introduce a bill, and I think this is a great idea. And what it'll be is, right now they do the census, they count everybody. And that's how they do redistricting in the states and things. So now, what she's going to require in this bill, if I have it right, only the American citizens will be counted when you're trying to redistrict. Because, face it, that's not fair. We know about this.
Oh, especially New Mexico. I'd be willing to bet New Mexico has the worst gerrymandering in the nation. I mean, if you guys just look at the district, the CD2 map is ridiculous. It looks like a freaking a damn crossword puzzle. It's like, what were they doing? But to me, in my opinion, I don't know if it's true, but it looks like they just cut a sliver out of southern Albuquerque, because for New Mexico, we have 3 congressional districts. For many, many years, at least 20 years that I know of, it was Belen, New Mexico, which is the middle of New Mexico, and below was CD2, Congressional District 2. But since Yvette Harrell, our number one champion conservative horse, Republican horse, Yvette Harrell was winning, they sliced out a little sliver of southern Albuquerque, which everyone knows Albuquerque's blue. But southern Albuquerque is particularly where there's a lot of illegal immigrants, super blue areas, and they cut that sliver in for her, and she did lose after that. So I'd be willing to bet they purposely went in that area for those votes. I'm just saying it's an opinion. I'm not saying it's fact, but
And looking at the state, part of Albuquerque really essentially has nothing to do with us down here.
Totally different culture.
Right?
Totally different. We're agriculture down here. We're more rural down here. We have way stronger of an influence from Texas down here, because we got a lot of cities that border Texas. Like Cloudcroft is owned by Texans mostly. All those oil cities on the left hand, on the east side right there. El Paso, we're right next to El Paso here in Las Cruces. So there's a lot of strong conservative vibes here, and even on the west side, the conservative vibes from Arizona spilled in over there too a little bit, right? And Deming and Silver City.
Yeah,
and,
it's right on the border, very close.
So it's just I'm just trying to explain totally different dynamics down here in the south than in the north, and so it's frustrating because that's an important race. That's congressional district's an important race.
Now, the setup that I believe in Arizona, when it comes time to redistrict, which happens every 10 years, right?
Yeah.
We have to have a certain number of Republicans, a certain number of Democrats, and then I think independents also. And then they get together and they have public hearings so people can go and voice their opinions about the redistricting. How is it done here? I'm thinking it's not done that way.
No, they just did it.
I think doesn't the governor assign who can do it? Am I wrong on
I
that?
think it's a state representative. It's like, I want to say State Representative Ivy Soto was the one who was in charge of it. It was someone at the top level of the state of the House that was in charge of it. But don't quote me. I don't know enough. I just know they did it and it screwed us over really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not the smartest guy with certain things. I'm learning still, but.
Well, I think this is a really good bill, and I think it has a good chance to pass.
Right. It already passed. It already went through.
No, this one, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she just introduced it.
Oh yeah.
For the
I just saw a cool
American
video of her
citizens.
running up a freaking mountain.
She's something
she's in
else.
good
isn't she?
shape. Yeah, she's in really good shape.
Oh yeah. Well, America Fest. I think it wasn't the last one, the one before. She was there, and that big hall where they have all the exhibits. I've told this story before. Super long line. I'm like, wow, what the heck? What are these people waiting in line for? And I go to the very end of the line. The guy says, "Oh, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's signing her book." I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah, she was like in her freaking workout gear, sweating her face off, running up a mountain. She was doing a video. It was pretty cool. I was like, yeah,
Wow.
she's in shape. She's in good shape.
So the thing that the Democrats are really trying to do their fear mongering job, right? Oh, the Medicaid, they're going to take all these people away. Well, like you say, in New Mexico, there's a lot of people that are on Medicaid and probably shouldn't be. I mean, they got to go after the fraud. If they could just eliminate the fraud in that, it probably would take care of itself.
Well, you guys gotta realize that this is they're overriding us. What's the word I want to say? It's an invasion. Okay,
It is an invasion.
Look what happened to Europe. Okay, they have way more illegal immigrants in like England than they do English people now. And what they do is they suck your social programs dry. The local citizens don't get any of it. They don't end up assimilating. They end up hating the country that put them in there. And then they over inundate the system with these burdensome medical bills, and we get squeezed out. We're basically getting squeezed out of our own country. That's what's happening. And I don't think Europe has a chance to come back. I think they're too far gone. I think the way I see the future coming out now is that we're going to have to end up going over to save their asses all over the world because they've been overrun. And at least now we have Trump in there. He's got the big, beautiful bill. We got the wall. We got new ICE agents. We got tax credits for Americans. We got new kid credit. All this stuff that's actually going to help us big time in the long run. Europe has nothing. They're still flooding them with immigrants. But we still have problems. I mean, nothing against the Islam country or the Muslims, but Texas is now the biggest state of mosque being built and stuff. And
Texas is now.
well, I think they're right behind California. They're about to beat California, though, supposedly this year.
And I guess in a way that does make sense because where are people moving to? They're
Texas.
moving to Texas. They're probably the ones from California moving to
And
Texas.
freedom of religion is cool and all, and I know a lot of guys who are practice Islam and all that stuff. But the reality is when they go to these other countries, especially in Europe, they plan once they get past 10% of the population to take over that country. They pray about it, they talk about it publicly, and that's not good. We can't have that.
There was a video too, and the guy was talking about. The interviewer was saying, "Well, aren't you concerned about Sharia law?" And I think he was a hardcore Muslim. He said, "No, if Sharia law, that's what's supposed to happen. It's going to happen because
Exactly."
And he was admitting, he goes, "We're having babies. Americans are not having babies." So they're like, they're growing.
That's what it is.
They're
And imagine if we went over there as Catholics or Christians to their countries and say, "Oh, we're going to come over here and have babies and put up our churches." Imagine that. Yeah. They'd be throwing us off roofs. You know?
That definitely would be the case.
So
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of if someone's doing something to you, do something back to them. So if you can't do that, there's something going on. So there's something going on with it. We can't just be letting them come over here and just run them up. That's not right. It's not fair.
Well, the immigration getting under control is so awesome. I mean, we've virtually gone, what are we? We're just July. So President Trump has been there about 6 months, not even 6 months yet, right?
Right.
And boom, all of a sudden, the immigration, we have essentially no passers that are coming into our country from the south, the southern border. I don't keep track of the northern border. We know that was an issue as well. That was a problem. But it's pretty amazing, like President Trump said, because it just needed a new president, somebody to do something about it. And that's why I'm wearing my hat today. I'm wearing my proud Republican hat.
Yeah, this is America. We need to protect our borders. We need to preserve our culture, preserve our history. We need to usher in the future generations, incentivizing families to have more kids. We need to get closer to God. People are trending more towards God as well now, too. The polls are out there. People are getting really into old school traditional values again, finally. And that's just what it is, guys. We're not going to be able to do it without God. We're not going to be able to do it without each other. And I don't mean to throw the Islam under the bus. Like I said, I know some amazing Palestinians. I know some really cool people that are Islam. But if you really look at France. Look at France. And do you really want that here in America? There's got to be a system for people to come here, because we do need people to come here. But
we do want good immigrants.
We need to assimilate you guys. You guys need to be proud of it. So it's like me getting drafted. It's like Michael Jordan getting drafted to go play for the freaking New York Knicks, but he's still wearing his Chicago Bulls jersey.
That's a good analogy.
It's like, well, what are you doing? I thought you're on our team. You're here. We're paying you. You're here in our beautiful stadium, but you're still wearing your old jersey. It don't make no sense to me.
What are you doing protesting and you have the flag of your other country that you fled to come here to America? Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
And of course, our illustrious, your girlfriend, Governor, MLG.
She's a little too left for me.
Governor Grisham is here's a headline from the Pinon Post. And always a shout out to them because they cover New Mexico.
They do good stuff. They do good stuff, for sure.
MLG has full-blown meltdown over Trump's beautiful budget bill.
She would.
She's very concerned, right?
Yeah, she doesn't have that extra money to disperse out to whatever she wants to do.
I mean, she's even thinking about calling a special session, which I don't know if that's going to happen. What do you think?
I say do it. It's just gonna be like quicksand. Anything these guys do now is quicksand. It just buries them even deeper.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. See, I did this. It's a little
Just
dark.
let 'em
I
do
think
it.
I can read it.
Give them all the rope they want.
Lujan Grisham floated the idea of calling a state special session not to address state needs, which we have many, let me tell you, not to address state needs, but seemingly to air that her grievances with a federal bill she has no authority over.
Yeah,
I
zero
mean, she
authority,
really
lady.
doesn't. She just wants to complain, and try to scare people about this.
Whoever becomes the next governor, I would implore you to investigate all of her administration's doings in the past 8 years. I guarantee. That's my Bayou accent, my Bayou accent.
Try that again. That's pretty good.
Guarantee.
Guarantee.
There's
Nice.
some issues going on. They're gonna find something because we got the worst child well-being in the country again, even worse than it was last year. And it's just crickets. You don't hear about it. You don't hear about it.
It's sad. I just passed. They're building that brand new beautiful school, Columbia, I think it is, off of.
I don't know.
It's a beautiful one. I was asking somebody, well, what about the history of that? It's a beautiful brand new school they're building. It looks almost like a high school. I think it's a middle school. But anyways, and they told me that the old school evidently
Oh
they found
yeah,
mold, right?
corruption. Yeah, it was.
But then later, really, that was a corrupt story.
Yeah, it was the mayor's next door neighbor's cousin's brother or something that built it, and they built the damn school in the middle of an arroyo, like literally on an arroyo. So whenever it would rain, it would just flood the school out, and it created a ton of mold. And so the kids were getting sick. They get some big chills, so they had to pull kids out of that school. They had to emergency build portables or get portables out to other schools so they can still, go to school. And that was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Wow.
And they finally built a new school. They put dirt. I actually planned for it to be a building on the arroyo, but yeah, it's prepared to deal with the water now. But the guy skipped town. He never got caught, never held accountable.
That's interesting.
Yep, never got caught, never got held accountable. Nothing. Just took the money and ran. And that happens all the time here in Las Cruces, guys.
Well,
all the time.
It really irritated me driving by it because I thought that's a beautiful new school. I have nothing again. I want good education for our
course.
kids.
Yeah.
But we're last, and here's this school, all that money, and hearing that story, all
Wasted.
that money just man.
$2 million to change Oñate to Organ Mountain.
Yeah, that was so important.
Huge waste. And I've taken tours around southern New Mexico because I know people who work for the city government. Not all of them are crazy lefty Marxists, they call me and I'll go to the east side or the west side and they'll show me around like, hey, look, this guy's cousin's neighbor or whatever did this construction job. Look at the building here. Look at this landscaping here, and it's abysmal work. And they get these contracts. This is how I'm just breaking down how it works, guys. There's no one else gonna shoot it to you straight like this, but this is how it works. These county commissioners have all this power and authority to give out these contracts to people, and they give them to their cousins, brothers, nephews, niece, his next door neighbor, whoever, the least competent person that they can give it to, because they're not caring about competence. They're caring about who's getting the money and how they can maybe get the money themselves, right? And you end up with these
kickbacks.
Yeah, you end up with these horrible projects, just like we saw with that school. The whole school had to get leveled. So all those millions of dollars, all those children's lives were just affected negatively. I mean, we've got to get an end to this stuff. This is getting brutal here.
No, that's way too much political incest. It really is.
Yeah, political incest. That's well put.
Terrible, terrible. And then while we're still kind of talking about New Mexico and different things, so
Nepotism.
nepotism. That's even better. Yeah. I also want to mention that our own, Gabe Vasquez. This is also Pinon Post. Dems turn their backs on downwinders while prioritizing criminal aliens. Now, are you familiar with downwinders? Do you know what that
I
is?
have no clue what that is.
Okay, so what that is, what I understand is, there's a lot of cancer in our state. And a theory is because of, what happened in the 40s up north.
Yep.
And I, it probably is the truth.
Well, yeah, Alamogordo. They said the what's that city next to Tularosa we were talking about the other day?
Carrizozo.
Yeah, Carrizozo. I heard that there's a lot of downwind fallout from there too.
Wow.
From the nuclear bomb that they tried and stuff. That some of the families were affected.
That's
And I saw a study yesterday. if you live by a golf course over the past 50 years, your chances of Parkinson's go through the roof.
Golf course.
Yeah, because of the pesticides from the grass.
Oh, oh my.
So it's kind of like a downwind kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah.
So anybody who lived by a golf course community, I don't know if you guys used to,
It was across the street. You know.
yeesh, you might want to look into that.
It was, it was, yeah.
But it's a big,
And
there's a big
they
study.
demolished this is interesting though, because they demolished the golf course
Good.
and they put houses up there.
Oh,
And
that's
these
not
are
good.
high-end houses.
That's not good.
So you're making me think about all that.
And that happens too. That's happened all over California where they'll build on top of these like toxic waste dump facilities or sites, and later on that whole neighborhood ends up with like severe cancer and stuff like that. And but I saw that study yesterday. I'll show it to you. You know, if you
Wow.
live next to a golf course, your chances of Parkinson's went up like 300%.
I never heard of that, but you know, that makes sense because like I'm trying to think of that very popular
Yeah,
treatment.
the
people-
Roundup. The Roundup.
Yeah, Roundup.
Yeah.
People used to use that.
Glyphosate.
Yeah, that's what it is,
Yeah,
exactly. And they
yeah.
used to use that all the time. And yeah, it made your grass look beautiful, but it was maybe killing you.
Yeah, it's just genetically
Not
modifying your genes.
Not good.
Um,
But yeah, so that was happening. I mean, it's just politics is always very.
We're getting
interesting.
hammered. Look at all this. All we ever talk about is how hammered we've been getting by the Democrat freaking elected politicians, and some of the Republicans too. They're not innocent.
Oh yeah, we're not perfect. No,
No.
we're not. But I'm still on that team because I would not want to be on the other team, especially right now. And they're still having trouble raising money. You were telling me about that as well.
Well, you know, the polls are out. That came out last week. I posted it on the Conservatives in New Mexico group page,
Which is doing very well, by the way.
which is doing very well. We're about to crack 800.
You're going to get to
group members.
1,000 by
Should we
next
get
week.
to 1,000 pretty quick here? And we haven't really even been trying that hard. You know, but what it was Alex Jones was saying is that the polls are out, and Democrats are at the least favorability they've ever been in history. They're at like 98%. Everybody hates you or something like that. Nobody likes the Democrat Party right now. They can't raise money. People are fleeing the party. Leaders are fleeing the party. The leaders that they did have, like Van Jones, he's saying,
Even he's saying,
even
yeah.
he's saying that they're done. They're done. It's game over.
Wow.
So, and that it makes sense because you look at the flow, they just seem demoralized. You know, they don't seem like they didn't get excited about it. And how could they get excited? Who's going to be leading it? AOC's under investigation now too for hiring illegals and trying to coach them how to get past the system. Bernie Sanders, he was backing that mayor guy from New York, but he's found out that he's getting a lot of money from George Soros too, and that he's getting investigated too right now.
Bernie Sanders is getting investigated?
No, George Soros.
Oh, George Soros is.
Finally, because of all of the No Kings protest, they're actually investigating who was funding all that. That's why they stopped pretty massive.
That's why we're not having them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of it here, but you don't see them like they wanted. Remember how they do in the BLM riots and stuff?
They were predicting like for the 4th of July, there's going to be a bunch of stuff.
Huge.
And there really wasn't.
No,
that I
there
saw,
wasn't.
Right?
No, I saw a couple of things on social media. A couple like younger Mexican kids say, "Well, I'm not celebrating 4th of July. I'm not buying fireworks and this and that." I'm like, get out of here.
Sure, you aren't.
Bro. Get out of here, bro. Like, I've never been more proud to be an American than right now. President Trump is kicking ass. His whole administration is kicking ass, and really. He was doing it on an empty tank because he just got in there. He hadn't had. See, how it works is the president can say all these things, but he needs the money to do them. Okay, he needed money to pay for these ICE agents. He needed money to finish this wall. We need money to actually thrive as a country. And everybody was kind of pissed off about that big beautiful bill because it was a lot of money. It's kind of a bloated bill. But what's really going on, this is my opinion, is they were bloating these bills out in the past and they were doling it out to countries all over the world. Well, we're bloating this bill out, and Trump's investing it into us. So as long as we use that money and we actually become very active and produce, then we'll pay ourselves back and then some tenfold. So it builds confidence. It gives us opportunity, whereas that money was not giving us a confidence opportunity.
Boy, what a concept. Actually, money that's yours, using it for America. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. That's true. And at the same time, we had the Doge come in and they're finding all this wasted money and they're cutting off these little sweetheart deals. I mean, you can't get everything. It's not going to happen overnight, like we say. But at least there's an attempt because it's just been going on forever. Too much.
Yeah, and I have a little suspicion too about Elon Musk's new America Party. I think him and Trump's feud is on purpose. I think they're trying to segue people from the Independent Party and from the Democrat Party over to this new
Good
party.
theory.
So it's the Republicans and the American Party, and then what it's going to do, it's going to bring it back to the old school, like in the '60s and the '50s, where the difference between the Republicans and Democrats was like small fiscal policy. It wasn't ever like moralistic or spiritual like the way
Oh
we
yeah,
have now.
the left just went way
Yeah,
back, way
so
out
they're
there.
gonna. This is gonna bring everyone together as Americans. This two-party system that's more America focused. Like we're both America first parties. Now let's have debates on fiscal policy.
That would be wonderful if that happened because, whenever somebody's tried to start a third party, that doesn't work. That really doesn't work.
It doesn't work, but people are jumping ship from the Democrat Party right now, and they're planning for that for sure because once they start exposing the real stuff that's going on behind the scenes of the Democrat Party, nobody's gonna.
Now, how can you stay in that party?
It's already started. I don't know how you're still in it
I
now,
was talking
guys.
to a hardcore Democrat, and all they were doing was complaining about all the stuff that was happening within their party. And
Really?
and I just, because they were paying attention, and it's
Oh
hit them.
no!
It's a person that probably is at least as conservative as I am, maybe more.
But they still
But
say
they're still very, they're still very loyal, and
that's
they're
frustrating.
right on the brink. So again, I like to make this plea. If you're there, I understand, as a Catholic, Latina, Hispanic person, whatever, family traditional person, it's hard because you're loyal. I know that you're loyal. But what you can do is step out and at least be politically an independent person. In New Mexico now, if you live in New Mexico, we have an open primary. So when you go vote next year, you can choose Republican or Democrat. But at least if you go there, that might help you get there. You may never get to be a Republican. Maybe there's something reason you just cannot be a
I
Republican.
don't care. Just vote Republican.
Exactly. Just vote your values. And I
Yeah.
think if you do that, they'll be fine.
Think of it like this: if we've all seen the same. We've all seen the movie Speed. That's a generational thing. Speed.
Yeah, I've seen Speed.
So the Democrat Party was hijacked, just like the bus was hijacked in Speed.
No control.
Yeah, no control. So do you want to stay on that bus when it's headed freaking off the bridge, or do you want to try to get off that bus as soon as you can? I say get off that bus, dude. It's been hijacked. You're no longer in control of it. The crimes against humanity, the open border, the child trafficking, the sex trafficking, the infiltrating of our country with these illegals and the votes and stuff. That is not what the Democrat Party that you used to believe in is what it's about anymore. So get off
Right.
the bus, guys. I'm asking you. If you're listening to this show, just get off the bus. Trust me.
I mean, and they keep finding stuff. I tell you, I save stories like for when we do our show once a week. Here's a headline I have: New York DMV issues fraudulent driver's licenses to Chinese.
Oh God.
And
Perfect.
there's so many things like that. In New Mexico, you can get a driver's license. You don't have to be a legal resident of New Mexico, which
No.
that I don't understand. Why do we even have that?
Because it's corrupt and they want to use that for votes. That's
It's just
why.
nuts. Oh no, Alice, you could tell. It's just like
They want a population here that hates America. That's a voting bloc that they can
Yep.
control, that they can redistrict and create new congressional seats for, and they can take over the House, they can take over the Senate, and they can take over the Supreme Court, and that's what their plan was.
yeah. And
And
and you're being used. Okay, if you're one of these people, you're being used.
you're being
know?
used.
So, oh, the promise of great America. But once even they get educated, I think there's a turnaround already starting to happen. New Mexico, I got this. Foreign-born persons made up an estimated 9.2% of New Mexico's population. This is in 2022.
Damn. So it's higher than that now.
Oh, it's got to be at least double or more, right? Don't you think? Maybe
Yeah.
triple.
Well, they're not telling you the truth either on that initial, so it's probably just stupid.
Yeah,
high.
and that's estimated.
Yeah.
And nearly 1 in 8 workers in the state is an immigrant. The majority of these immigrants, over 70%, originate from Mexico. And that's I got that headline.
And that's because they've done that. They've done that on purpose. They've done that on purpose.
Yeah, it's not an accident. I
But
totally agree with you.
this is America. This is America. God bless this country. God bless this land. They're not going to be able to get away with that much longer. And they're going to get into a lot of trouble. I'll tell you that right now. They're going to get into a lot of trouble for all their crimes against humanity that they've committed here in New Mexico. And they continue to do it. When you see kids, when our child on well-being is getting worse by the year and nothing is said about it, they get billions of dollars in funding and nothing is done to help these children. That the Democrat flow was an amazing thing for me to see because it was such a microcosm of, look, if you're a Democrat and there's that much excitement, you're so proud, why didn't you help them build the flow? Why didn't you volunteer? Why didn't you get your message, hand out some flyers? Hey, vote
Something.
Democrat. Vote, we're the ones doing, but you can't. There's nothing you can say that the Democrat Party is doing that's helping the American middle class right now at all.
Right. If I were to ask you, let's pretend you're a Democrat,
Yeah.
and I would ask you, okay, tell me one thing. I'm hard pressed. I mean, what would they try to do and stretch? You know what they would say? They say, "Well, they're fighting Trump because Trump's awful." That's basically their message. Trump's doing horrible
He's a
things.
king.
I would say, well, did you know you got a dude running for mayor in New York who he admits to being a democratic socialist,
Yeah.
which means he's probably a communist
He's
for
a
sure.
communist. Yeah, he's a Marxist
You know,
for sure.
how do you
And he was
explain that?
rich. He's rich. He
$2
was
million condo. That's what I heard.
born rich. His dad's like a billionaire. Some super rich guy. He grew up, and
And that's fine. Have as much money
that's
as you want.
okay. But it's indicative of these commies. They're so privileged.
Well, they try to act otherwise. Like what was the story too that broke this week about AOC? So, oh, I'm a Bronx girl. I'm a
Yeah, I
Bronx
saw
girl.
that. Yeah.
And they did a little research on her, and she may have been born. I think she was born in the Bronx,
But
she didn't grow up
she
there.
wasn't raised in the Bronx.
And-
No.
but yet they're trying to give you this. I'm one of you, man.
That's all
And that's
fake.
what Biden ran on that
Yeah.
6-pack Joe, and everybody thought it was
Six-pack
very likable,
Joe.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was. But now with Trump, okay, yeah, he is rich, and what you see is what you get. He doesn't pretend to be anything else.
Yeah, but he grew up. His dad raised him really good, though.
Yes.
He grew up blue collar, essentially.
He had to do. I remember he said that, like, so his dad had construction workers.
Yeah,
or whatever.
evictions. He had to do
He
evictions.
had to do the work that they did.
Yeah, he
He
did
made
the work that they did, and he did evictions too. And he always worked with people, help people. He's always grilling out with the guys, working with the guys, hanging out with the guys. He was a big risk taker too. I mean, he went bankrupt 7 times. It's like, because that's what it is to be an entrepreneur. You can't just be this, pompous, $2 million condo guy sitting around running for office in his early 30s. Trump was not doing that in his early 30s. Trump was throwing dice, building freaking skyscrapers.
You got to take these risks, and I'll tell you an old story. So when I was learning to drive, okay, you get your driver's license, which is a big deal. I did a big deal. But my dad said, no, before you get to do this, you have to change a tire. You have to know how to change the oil. I mean, took you through all that. And he said, because you got to know what you're doing. And he said, you're driving this weapon. And he was right, because it's a bunch of steel. At that time, the cars were heavier, but still, even it can be a weapon.
it's
You
super
can kill
dangerous, too.
somebody with this thing.
Easy.
He emphasized it. And I feel like that's kind of how Mr. Trump, Senior Trump, was doing to President Trump. He's guiding him, and he was preparing him for the world. And that's probably why he's so good at it, and a man for this time.
Yeah, never quit. That's like his main thing. Like, don't quit. You always fight. Keep fighting. And that's the mentality you have to have in business. The average entrepreneur has 3 failed businesses before they hit it big. And I'm an direct example of that. I've had 3 failed businesses.
Hey, it's your time.
And finally, my new business is doing very, very good. I mean, they all did good in their own way, but this is a totally different experience because I learned from the failures of the past. Failure is part of the process. Failure is good if you don't quit. And that is a beautiful message from our President Trump himself. And he doesn't drink a drop either. That's another thing I love about President Trump.
know.
He doesn't drink a drop of alcohol. I love that about him.
It's amazing.
He's just
Does
such
he
a
drink
good.
Diet Cokes? That's
Yeah, he
maybe the
drinks
worst
Diet
thing that he
Cokers.
does, right?
And McDonald's. He's eating McDonald's too.
But man, I see him, and he's just so energized. And he took his hat off the other day. I don't know where he was talking, and he took his hat off. That's the first time I saw him with the flat hair. But I mean, he just keeps going and going like the Energizer Bunny.
Trump 2028, I'm telling you guys.
Oh man! So I kind of missed this. I meant to do this, but it kind of ties in with everything. So as all of you know, we do the show from Las Cruces, New Mexico, my hometown.
Border town.
Originally. Yeah, border town. Yeah, they call it the borderland out here. And I also got this headline. This is from KTSM, so it's I think it's the NBC affiliate in El Paso.
I have no idea.
Joint operation in Las Cruces results in nearly 200 arrests. So
I didn't see
like
that, really?
Yeah, somehow it came up on my phone.
Oh,
and I
cool.
thought, I'm going to print this.
Yeah, I like
And-
the sound of that.
Yeah. So Operation, and did you even know about this? Operation Not in Vain. Okay. Operation
Oh,
Not
yes.
in Vain has resulted in 94 felony arrests, 98 misdemeanor arrests, and the seizure of more than 2,300 fentanyl pills, the Las Cruces police said on Thursday, July 3rd. The crime reduction operation has also now, accounted for more than 800 traffic stops and 200 citations. So this is Operation Not in Vain 2025. It just began in late April. It's not very old. And this is in memory of fallen Las Cruces Police Department officer Jonah Hernandez. He was killed in the line of duty February 11th. Remember, he got stabbed by the homeless person.
Brutally murdered.
brutally murdered. And then one more. Through June, law enforcement personnel working the operation have made 844 traffic stops, and that resulted in 235 citations, recovered 9 stolen firearms, located 11 stolen vehicles, narcotics, seized narcotics in 12 separate searches, issued 28 trespass warnings, and executed 15 search or arrest warrants. That's Las Cruces Police Chief. Now, just to remind you, too, Las Cruces, we're about 115,000 in population. So maybe these numbers, if you're listening from the big city of Phoenix or something like, well, that's not very many. It is for us. It is, and I just want to salute the police
Yeah, it's
department.
just still, you know, we got
really do.
almost 200,000 people in this county, but
Yeah, probably over that. Yeah, in
it's
the county.
small though. It's still small. Everybody still talks. Everybody still knows what's going on. You
The
know,
cheese man, you know the cheese man.
it's strong here. So you gotta honor that. You know, it's a small community, but these little things go a long way. I think nationwide, you made me think of that statistic that came out. Nationwide, I think murders are significantly down since Trump came in office.
But do you hear about that in the mainstream media?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you don't. You
haven't
don't.
heard
But
about that.
yeah, I mean, because look, you close the border and you start like, deporting all these hardcore criminals.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the illegals that came up here. They were lied to. But if you came up here illegally, you got to go. You can't even come up here legally and get married. If you got here illegally, you got to go back but they did. So here's one thing that they don't tell you about in the news too is Trump did make it very easy for you to come back. If you've got sponsors, you had a job, you go back over there real quick, we get you, you know, your stuff and you come right back. A lot of people didn't want
Do
that.
it the right way.
A lot of people didn't want that. They want a complete, just everybody get the hell out of here. But I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. If you were working here and you were put your time in and you got some sponsors, you're welcome back. You know, I think that's fine.
If you were a contributing member of our community
Right.
and you had good intentions,
Yeah.
I can understand that. That's why this thing that he's going to, it's a deal kind of with the farmers.
Yeah.
It's going to benefit
That's
our
fine.
country.
I'm cool with that.
And we have never been against immigration. That's another thing that Democrats have always tried to do. The left will say, no, they don't, they're racist. They don't like the immigrant. No, because there's a big history of a bunch of us with that. We want good immigrants that will be loyal to our country and are serious about becoming Americans.
The illegals, and I hate to say it like that, you know, you guys were being lied to. You're coming up here and they're exploiting you. These immigration attorneys, they're getting you all these benefits that are illegal. You don't even probably know they're illegal. And they're getting a cut off of these benefits that you're getting, man. It's all a racket to benefit themselves. It's all about exploitation. It's not about the American. So as Americans, we want you to come here with the American spirit. Build yourself up from bootstraps. Start with nothing, earn it, get something. Get some generational wealth going through hard work, through discipline, through patriotism, through assimilation. That's real. That's tangible. And that's what made this country. The Democrats are not selling that same dream. They're not selling the American dream. They're selling a communist dream. Come up here, live off the government. You do exactly what we say, or
Have
you
your
go
hand out.
bye-bye. Yeah. Do exactly what we say, or you go bye-bye. That's not the American dream, the American way.
And I know that immigrants, naturalized citizens, are some of our most patriotic and best citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're recently here. They had to learn the Constitution. And we all did that in school. And then we take it for granted and we forget about it. But they know their stuff and they're just so happy to be in a free country. And that's why it's so important to make the law really be effective. And that's, you know, thank God for President Trump. If you watch the Gutfeld show, they're always saying, we don't deserve him. That's sort of like,
we're
we don't
not
deserve
worthy.
him,
We're
you know?
not worthy. It's like,
And yeah, that's, I mean, all the stuff that's happened to him, my goodness gracious. Thank you, Lord. Really do.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I've always known. Well, he blew me away with the stuff that he did do early this year. I mean, amazing
So
stuff.
quickly.
Yeah, that was just icing and the cherry on top. Now this is where we're getting into what I was predicting was going to happen. Once Trump got a hold of the economy and the middle class, like he did back in 2016, 2017, that's when we're really going to start feeling the future of humanity. And it starts with that big, beautiful bill. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of bloat in there. There's a lot of pork. But just think of it in terms of it's going to be focused towards us now, towards the Americans, not pork towards everyone else. So just think about an investment. Like if you got an investment from a bank and you know you have a company and they're like, okay, well, the bank's like, well, we're going to use that money the way we think is best. It's like, well, it's my business. Well, no, we're going to loan you the money. You're on the hook for it, but we're going to use it the way we think it's best for your business. We're like, okay, what do you think that bank's going to do? Screw you over. You know, they're going to do whatever it is because they have you by the balls. You have no choice. So we're actually getting a loan from our bank, and we get to use the money the way that we want to use it.
And where does the money come from? Taxpayers.
From us.
Right?
So if they're going to print money, let's print it for us. Let's print it for ourselves, and let's use it for what we know is going to actually pay for itself.
And I know there was a lot of controversy, but I think this worked out pretty good because, it passed the House, went to the Senate. The Senate messed with it too. It came back to the House.
Yeah.
And, is it perfect? No, of course not. It isn't perfect. Like one of the things, they are defunding Planned Parenthood for at least 1 year. And so some people say, well, just one. Well, that's something. That's huge because then you can go on and you just keep it. You can put it on your congressperson
agree with
to
that.
keep doing that. I wish it would have been more, but I think it was done. Somebody said it was done to kind of to help get the votes and a piece because really it's a messy process to get these bills passed. It really is.
Oh yeah, well that's why
really is.
he's literally not a king. Like he can't.
Yeah, hello.
He has to work with the Senate and the House, and they have all their own agendas, and you can't just run things through like a dictator. So that but the Planned Parenthood thing is I don't want to get too into it because you know what happens when we do that.
Well, it's a start at least. So it's 1 year. That's gone. That's a start, and I'll take that over nothing. That's what I'll do. Barely.
Things got to change here, and it's going to be a while before we really start seeing the
And you know
bright
what?
side.
It's up to us because the reason we're in the mess, it's a lot of us because we just let it happen. We let it happen and keep voting for the same person that shouldn't have been. So we got to clean up our election integrity
Yep.
as well.
That's right.
And do that. Okay, we're getting close to just have a few more minutes. What have we not hit? What did you want to say? Any announcements locally that you want to talk about?
I can't think of anything. Well, there's some very interesting candidates that are going to be announcing here pretty soon for New Mexico state offices. That keep your ears out for that. Very exciting time for New Mexico. We have a lot of synergy in the Republican Party, the Democrats. So it's like anything else. New Mexico's always last for everything. We were the last ones to unlock the state, right, with the lockdowns and stuff. Well, we're going to be the last ones to feel and see the Democrats' parties collapse. So just be patient. Everyone's like, well, everyone's saying the Democrats are finished. It's game over. But they're still strong here in New Mexico. Yeah. It's because we're always last.
We are. And we're only, the whole state, remember, is only 2.2 million people. We're a very small populated state.
I'm predicting Zeke's brain.
Zeke's time for Zeke's predictions.
I needed my wizard hat. I foresee, because for every action, there's equal to opposite reaction, right? We have been manipulated and controlled and just overran for so long that the fall of the Democrat Party will be tremendous. It will be a big, huge house of cards that's going to just tumble and fall very quickly. Because like you said, we only got 2 million people here. So once it starts to topple over, it's going to go quick and it's going to go hard. And it kind of already started with the Judge Cano thing.
Any update on that, Zeke, at all?
Well, I posted it on Marjorie Taylor Greene. She talked about, or not Marjorie Taylor Greene, Pam Bondi. Excuse me, Attorney General Pam Bondi. It was about a month ago. I don't know if you saw it, but she gave an update.
Yeah, that was
That was the last time I heard. Yeah, they found he admitted to destroying a phone and there was nasty stuff on that phone. People's bodies being mutilated and stuff, beheaded, and so these are just really nasty people, and they're not going to let it go.
And he never answered why he destroyed that phone. I just destroyed the phone.
Well,
right?
It's easier for him to admit that he did it than talk about what was on it, and so I think he's just going to plead it out. They're gonna have to do some kind of.
But I haven't seen any other update or coverage since then. Have you?
Well, I talked to my really strong sources last night actually about it.
See, I asked a good question.
Yeah, and he's in a lot of trouble. He's in a lot of trouble, and there's really, I mean, I can say this at the top of that whole case is that there is terrorism charges there. Okay?
Wow.
There was terroristic charges there, and so that's really the big issue with what was going on.
Now, of course, like we always say, innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, charges. I said charges.
Right. Yeah. But we're here because we like to provide New Mexico, Las Cruces news that you don't always hear, things you don't always hear talk about. So I appreciate you giving us that update.
Yeah, that I can say that yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for. Wow. And it's weird too because I get a lot of Democrats for whatever reason reaching out to me on social media recently too. It's just weird stuff going on right now, and I don't know why. It's like, dude, I'm just trying to do my thing here. I'm not trying to.
You're just on fire on social media.
I kind of am on fire.
You
right
really
now.
are.
But I'm not trying to hurt nobody. Like, I'm not trying to go after anybody, do anything. I'm just like trying to be as authentic as I can for the community and bring people together. and do what's right for the state. It's just common sense stuff, you know. So I don't know what everybody wants from me. You know, you're gonna get what you've been getting. You know, me and Alice doing the show, and me and her volunteering and doing what we can to help the community and praying, and nothing's changed. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But anyway,
But, at least I think more information is getting out. From when I just moved here 3 years ago until now,
oh yeah,
more people talk politics. And even I'm getting
true.
more texts from the other side. And that's a good sign.
Yeah, me too.
That's a good sign, like
Is it?
you're talking
I guess
about.
you're right.
Because
Yeah.
that means they're finally maybe paying attention. I was telling you when I came in today, if you've never been to the Las Cruces area, we're in a valley and it's beautiful here. And we've had some recent rains. The sun was shining. It was just so crisp and clear. And I thought, this is such a beautiful place to live in, this beautiful valley. And it's too bad that it's been overtaken by blue forces, and my thing, I'm fighting that. It's time for us to be represented. If everybody here were of that nature, okay, then I'd be the minority and I could accept it. But as you say, I don't believe that's the case.
No, after seeing the 4th of July parade or the White Parade, I mean, the amount of support that we got, guys. And I'm not trying to throw you guys under the bus who support us, because I know you guys want to be like kind of covert about things, because you can't really be that outspoken about it out here. That's a big problem.
That's still an issue.
But there was just no shame. I mean, we had sections of huge, massive amounts of people cheering for us and giving us thumbs up and thanking us for doing what we do.
That's great.
And, that gives me all the confidence in the world to keep going, keep pushing. And it just tells me where we're really at here. It's all fake. Everything that they end up doing, it ends up being a complete fraud.
Just political theater.
Yeah, political theater. And so if you guys did have that much power and control, the county commission, the city council, where was the love? They should have been throwing stuff at us. They should, and I'm not encouraging violence. I'm just saying,
No.
like, we should have gotten way more negative feedback than we got over that night, the other night. And we just didn't. We got a ton of love and a ton of support. So I don't know if it's the elections or what. I mean, we know what that is, but it's just the spirit of this community is conservative. People, and especially with the 4th of July, you can see it. I remember when the lockdowns, we had a 4th of July, we couldn't do a light parade because of the lockdown and stuff like that. But and I was part of it too. I got my truck and I got 2 American flags and I stuck them out the windows. And we had a motorcade of the whole city was touring the city in just pro-America stuff.
And why would that be an issue? Because you're in vehicles and you're driving around. Why did they not want to?
We couldn't have a light parade. There was no light parade.
It's just ridiculous.
But we made our own light parade. It was a huge motorcade. I mean, it was the whole entire street of Solana
Good.
was full of people. So there is patriotism here. People love this country here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And New Mexicans in general are very patriotic. It's a rural community. We got Billy the Kid here. We're all about the Wild Wild West. We're proud of our Spanish heritage. The Catholics are a huge influence here. They're God-fearing people. They're life-loving people, and they're very conservative. And that's what the majority of the population is here. So it's time for us to start getting representation. And we do that by you guys getting involved. And I'm not telling you guys to register Republican. We're just telling you guys to get involved. And I talked about one of my videos recently on Facebook. It's like, look, just throw a party. Just start hanging out with people. You don't got to be hanging out. Hey, are you Republican? I'm Republican. Let's have a party. No. If you know someone that's cool, that you work with, that you've gone to school with, that you run into, you haven't seen in a while, have a barbecue, have them over, hang out, go have dinner, bring your families together. And I did it last night. I was at a 4th of July party last night, and I met some amazing people. And you know what? We started networking, and we're going to start doing some work together.
That's great.
They're not hardcore Republicans or anything like that, but we talked about things that we can do to help each other in our business.
A lot of agreement.
A lot of agreement. And so we're going to work together. I did it twice. I went to 2 different parties, and at both parties, I exchanged numbers with people that we're going to be doing business with or political stuff with in the very near future. Didn't even mean to, didn't want to, but that's the power of actually doing something.
Having fun, and that's the thing too. We're not negative people. We're happy people. And I love meeting people.
Me too.
Making new friends, just like I met your friend,
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah. And she's great.
She's awesome. Emily put a shout out to you
her,
again.
her husband works right here too, actually.
Right on. Okay, I think we got everything that we did. My goodness gracious. Now, just a quick announcement. Last week we had a few technical difficulties, so the show's still not uploaded.
Yeah. We'll get that show uploaded here this weekend. So we're gonna have 2 shows this week. I'll drop the freshest one here today, or as soon as possible. Probably today it'll be up, and then the next day I'll have the episode from last week out, and we'll put clips out from both, and we'll be text blasting and sharing both. It's a little extra content. We had an interview with Alice's
Preston
friend,
Romero.
Preston Romero. Very good interview. It was a very interesting conversation about what's going on in California. So yeah, we ironed out the bugs on that, so that shouldn't happen again. But we do have the content. We'll put it out. So there's going to be a little bit extra chips and a little extra salsa for you guys this next
Yeah,
week.
nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. And it was a busy week too with the 4th of July and everything
You
like
were
that.
very
You,
busy.
you probably wouldn't have time to listen to the shows as intently as you would have otherwise
That's
anyway.
right. And appreciate your feedback. You guys are so wonderful about that. Appreciate it very much. Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. You hear sirens?
Cops.
What does that
You-
mean?
you-
Hopefully they're not coming to get us.
You hear them a lot these days, but it's okay. We're working on the crime. We're
That's
fixing
okay.
it.
There's a heavier presence of the Las Cruces Police Department. Have you noticed
And
that?
the
I
morale's
like that.
up. The morale's way up. You know, I was thanking police officers for their service at the parade, and
Awesome.
they were smiling, and they just were in really good spirits. And I like to see that because it wasn't always like that. And Albuquerque Police Department doesn't necessarily have that. I've spent some time in Albuquerque, you know, pulled some of the cops aside and tried to talk to them and thank them for their service, and I didn't get the same vibe from them. So shout out to Chief Story. I know they hired a bunch of cadets recently too, and you know, I can't thank the police officers enough because they're on the front line. This is a war, you know, and these people, the cops, they deal with stuff that's unspeakable. If people really knew what police officers had to deal with and see on a day-to-day basis, I mean, you can't even make a movie out of this stuff. They deal with the worst of the worst, especially now with these illegal immigrants that are violent, that came from these insane asylums and stuff like that. Well, we just had Officer Hernandez brutally slain, you know. So I just have so much respect and adoration for our law enforcement because they deal with horrible stuff.
There was a story, and forgive me because I can't remember where it happened, but it was from the Sinaloa cartel. And
Oh,
it was
yeah.
very graphic. They just had bodies hanging. I mean, no,
That's what they got to deal with. That's who they're arresting.
it's hardcore. Hardcore. So please pray for them.
Pray for them. Let's pray for them. And on prayer, let's end on prayer. Lord Jesus, we are so grateful once again for bringing us here together and giving us this opportunity to share this knowledge and information with the community. And we thank you for having an amazing 4th of July parade here in Las Cruces. And thank you for all the support from the community. And we just pray that people get more involved with each other, Lord, that they come together for you, Lord, and they come together for the community, and they stand up for what's right, so that way we can change this community for the better. We can fight for the children, and we can build a future for our people here in New Mexico, and build a future for America, and build a future for the world, because America is the leading example for the world. And when we get our stuff together and we fix ourselves, the world can take lead and do the same thing for themselves as well, Lord. So thank you again for all the blessings, Lord. And I just pray that everyone have a great rest of the 4th of July weekend. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. As always, well done.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We love you guys. Thanks for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time on the Chips and Salsa Show, New Mexico.